it has to do something with Requiem, but not in direct way. So because, well, there are some kind of similarities, but for instance, there are 13 parts, and you can say that 12 from Requiem and 1 is Epilogue. That was kind of my idea as well. But well, it's first of all, when I got those this name, Lacrimosa and 13 Magic Songs, I thought, why it's called like that? I didn't have explanation for that. So it does have something to do with Requiem, but of course you cannot call it Requiem because first of all there is no text, and yeah, there is no actually any other connection to other parts, only Lacrimosa. I had this idea very long time ago. I got this idea about this piece, and of course within the years it changed, been changed many times. But the main idea was that this music will speak directly to you without emotionally directly, I mean. But of course there should be a certain structure for that. So first, when I got this idea, I thought it should be called Lacrimosa only. But then I realized that in order to build up the complex structure of all those different textures I have there, it's gonna be very difficult to make it as a one movement piece. So I decided to divide them on a kind of small movements, but and each one kind of dedicated to a certain technique and certain emotional state. There is one part which called prayers, not prayer but prayers, and there are some other movements which the names, for instance, are insects or horns or air, for instance, and rondelay. So there are different movements, and in some parts also I think there is not only musical meaning in that, but also dramaturgic wise is built that in a certain way that in some parts you feel the lowliness of a person, and this lowliness is not that you are just alone, but you are truly struggling to find the answers on the questions which are most important to you. So that is what prayers mean for me. Because always my idea is not to lead people with me, but to open the door, and then I can step in and to find something what is important for them in this space. It's not necessary that they will like all parts. It can happen, but well, I don't have any ideas when you go in there. Sometimes I still myself try to get used to that music. It was a surprise for me as well when I was writing it. So while rehearsing, it is interesting to experience how far your imagination can bring you. This is the idea of creating process in general, because you cannot create something which you know in advance what it will be. If you know the really total result in details, there is no well, for me at least, there is no interest anymore to compose it. Yeah. So I of course I get some material and try to understand what this material asks from me, and what I try to answer it. And then sometimes even when I'm writing something and get kind of turns in the shape of the piece, I have sometimes doubts about it really doesn't go that way I expected. and I think it's important to learn to accept it. You should accept it. Yeah. All composers have weak pieces. What does it mean? That, well, we can say many things, but in general it means that that your mind has to be prepared to transfer some kind of information. And if your mind is not prepared, then this information goes somewhere else. Yeah. And then I realized while writing this piece that that is gonna be a macro cycle. So I decided to make macro cycle called similar, where I will write it probably until I die. And the idea is that that in each part of this cycle I will use same group of instruments, but even not group, but same instrument for the whole piece, like 4 pianos or 8 saxophones, this kind of things. So this is the first chapter of this cycle.
And do you have an idea what the next chapter is?
Yes, I have an idea. That's gonna be piece Pain for 8 saxophone players. When I was about 18, I started to watch different movies, and at that time it wasn't easy actually to find them. Not like now on internet, you can find everything. And I remember when I found first films of Ingmar Bergman, that was very impressive for me. And then later on Andrei Tarkovsky and Lars von Trier. That made a huge impression on me. But also I recently thought that that probably nowadays we pay too much attention to films, because I think music is way more sophisticated than films are, because films it's really young art, and it speaks with very simple symbols and very simple patterns and so on. I think well, music tells deeper things than films are, because the language is very developed in music already. The language and connections inside the art itself, they are very strong already, and the tradition is very strong. And film industry just well, they let's say just started. I'm very happy that I have chance to conduct this piece myself, and it will be played by a new formed ensemble, Shapeshift. And well, they are very young and enthusiastic and extremely talented musicians. And I would say it was not easy to collect those kind of people in this project, because most of amazing players, violin players, they are very busy, first of all, and sometimes not everyone from them wants to play this kind of crazy music.